Hi everybody, and welcome to our home economics class today. We're actually in the restaurant here at Amici's, and we're taking you back in the kitchen to show you what it's really like. I wanted to thank everybody for joining us today, and I wanted to thank also everybody for supporting us during this time of just takeout and delivery. We greatly appreciate it. If you asked anybody what is the most ordered item on a menu from children, hands down, it's Alfredo. And it could be fettuccine Alfredo, penne Alfredo, it doesn't matter. And to me, I think that's because it's the Italian version of American mac and cheese. So today I thought it would be a good idea to show you guys how to make your own. Since you're in the house and you have no school and we don't have a lot of people here that we have to feed, I thought it would be a great time for us to get together, and I'm going to kind of walk you through the basics. The first thing you do when you want to cook is you always follow a recipe. Now this isn't exactly how it goes. This is the ingredients and what you need. I have a lot of it already stored in my head, so I don't really need this one, but you should follow a recipe. Whether it's out of a book or an old family one is even better. Then you should get everything ready so you don't have to go looking around for it when it's time to cook, because we want this to be easy and simple for you guys. So I've gotten all my ingredients ready here, and I put them in order. And so the second thing I want you to know is that when you cook, you need to have the right attire, because you can't have your hair down because hair will get in your food, and nobody wants that. I have gloves on today. When I'm home, I don't cook with gloves, but in a restaurant, I want my food to be good for everybody. And I also have an apron on, and it's just going to keep my jeans and my shirt clean, because sometimes you can spill things. I have all of my tools set up here for you, and I'm going to walk you guys through it. And the first thing I have here is a big pot. Yes, this is actually a pot of steaming water. And what you put in here is basically liquids for soups, marinaras, anything that you may want to make in here. This is a pot. The second thing I want to show you is this is a saute pan. This is what we will actually be making the Alfredo sauce in. So one is big and round, and then the other one is tall for you guys. We have measuring spoons here that we are going to use, all different ones for the ingredients. Then we have measuring cups, and this you would put in dry ingredients such as flour, sugar, cocoa powder, rice, cheese, any of the dry things. This is a wet measuring cup, and this is where you would put liquid in because it has all of the ounces and everything listed for you on the side. Of course, we always have to have a spoon. We like a wooden spoon because we don't want to scrape up our pot when we cook. We have a knife that you should never use unless your parents are around. And then I have something called a spider here. And they call it a spider because this actually looks like a web. But this is actually what you would use to take your pasta out of the water and put it into your pan. So I have everything set, and I think we can start now. So I've chosen tortellini because tortellini, it means tiny pies. And if you realize inside of this, there's cheese. Also comes with sausage, chicken, spinach, all different things you can put inside. And they kind of look like a little pie. So I'm using tortellini, but you can also use penne pasta. That's like the little tube. And they call it penne because it looks like a quill pen. So that's what penne means in Italian. And then of course we have the fettuccine. So the fettuccine is a longer noodle, but it's also very thick. These are the best pastas for Alfredo sauce. You wouldn't want to use an angel hair, which is very, very thin pasta, because it's heavy and the angel hair will get all stuck together. So we never really like to use that. So we're going to get started, and I'm going to put the tortellini. Now this is 1 pound of tortellini. This is fresh pasta, so it's going to cook faster than if you had a dry pasta. And I'm going to put it and pour away from you always, and I'm going to put it in the water. So the secret that you want to good pasta is you always want to make sure the water is salted. So what I have here is coarse sea salt. It's like the granules are very big. So what we want to do is we want to put the salt in there, and you want to make the water taste like the sea. You might think, oh my goodness, that's a lot of salt. But it's really not. This is a lot of water, and the pasta really has no flavor. So now with the salt in there, they're going to swim around in this water and get all nice and salted. And this is also a big wooden spoon that we use to make our sauce, because our sauce pot is so big, we have to stir like this. So now we're going to go, while the tortellini is cooking, we're going to go over here and we're going to turn this flame on. Now we actually have a real flame here, a fire, because we have a gas stove. But at home, your stove may be flat with no flame at all. So you never want to play with the stove, and you never want to touch the fire. You will get burned. So we have this on low. I'm going to turn it up a little bit more. And we're going to start making our Alfredo sauce. So our recipe says here that we need 2.5 cups of heavy cream. Now this is thicker than milk. It is the top of the milk, and they take it off and they separate it, and then when they take the cream, you have milk. So the recipe says 2.5 cups. So at the top is 2, as you see. So I'm going to pour this to the 2. And I'm going to put it in my pan. And then I need another 1/2 of a cup. So I'm going up to the 1/2. I can see it on this side too. It's on both sides of the measuring cup. So that's the 1/2. So we're going to pour that in also. So there we have our heavy cream. So we want to use the wooden spoon, and like I said, you want to use a wooden spoon because it won't scrape your pot, but also it won't change the flavor of your food. If you use a metal spoon, sometimes when they get hot, the food starts to taste like metal. So you always want to just kind of use a wooden spoon. My kids know a wooden spoon very well, because sometimes when they were naughty, we had to use a wooden spoon. Okay, so next the recipe calls for a little bit of lemon. Now, if you don't like lemon, you don't have to put this in. I like lemon, but this also adds a little freshness to it. The heavy cream has a very mild flavor, so the lemon adds just a little bit of a zing to it. So again, this is a knife. Never use it if you're not with your mom or your dad. And we're going to try to get the juice out of this. And a good secret to getting juice out of a lemon is to roll it on the table like this. And what it's doing, it's making all the juice inside come apart from the rind in there. So I'm going to cut this in half. Always be careful with your fingers. And everybody knows that inside of a lemon there's seeds. We don't want those in there because we don't want anybody to choke on it or chomp down on it. So we always want to, either you can get rid of them, or like I'm doing right here, or you can sift it actually through your fingers and catch the seeds. As you see, I'm catching all of the seeds in my hand. Okay, so I have just a little bit of lemon juice in there. And now that we put lemon juice in there, we never want this to boil, because it'll get all curdly and it'll be sour. And we want to keep our cream nice and sweet tasting. So we've added that into it. And the next thing on our recipe, as we're following along, is the butter. So butter comes in a stick like this, and they make it very easy to measure everything because you have teaspoon and tablespoon. Our recipe calls for 12 tablespoons. So if we look on here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's only 8 in here, and I need 12. So that means I would have to have another stick with 4 more in it. So what we do is we open this up, and my butter is soft because this will only help it melt quicker in the pan. If you have a really hard, cold butter, it's not going to melt so fast. So I'm going to put the butter in, and I'm going to put the other one in here. So that makes 12 tablespoons. And look at it melting already. And that's the temperature that you want the cream, because if it's boiling away, everything is going to curdle and not be good. So I have to make sure I have it on low myself here. So we're going to mix around all the butter. In the meantime, I want to go back and check my tortellini. A lot of people say that when it floats to the top like this, it's done. And a lot of time, yes, that is an indication. So these are almost all up to the top, but we'll let them sit because they're still quite not done. So our butter is melting here, and we're going to stir it around. We can help it along. You can have it chopped like this. I can already feel this getting thicker already and becoming our delicious Alfredo. So the next thing we want to do is we want to put in a little salt. And these are our measuring spoons. And I've gotten a half of a teaspoon here. Half of a teaspoon. And I'm going to put a half of a teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to spread it around in there. And that's going to give it some flavor. I'm also going to take a half a teaspoon of pepper. Again, if you don't like pepper, you don't have to put it in. And now one of the secrets to this sauce that's going to give it a really good flavor is nutmeg. And you can buy it fresh where you can grate it, or you can actually get it in the store and it's good. And you're just going to put, actually, we're only going to put a quarter of a teaspoon in there, because this has a very warm, strong flavor. So now we put all of our spices in there as well, and we're going to keep stirring because we've got the cream, the lemon, the butter, and now we've got all of our spices in there. I can actually smell it already. Now guess what the most important ingredient of all in this dish is? You got it, it's the cheese. This is Parmesan cheese. And it usually comes in a big wheel, and they cut it into slices. And from there, they cut it into a smaller slice and they send it to the store. So this is Parmesan cheese. And this is Parmesan cheese when it's grated in a bowl. And that, if we just put this in here, we can't measure it, and it would just be too much cheese. So we grated it, and we put it in here, and we're going to add 2 cups. This is a cup, so we're just going to fill this to the top. And we only need 2 of them, but I'm only going to put 1 in right now, and I'm going to show you when to put the second one in. So this is 1 cup of cheese. And once you put this in, you need to keep stirring, because it'll stick. See, already it's melting, and it can stick to the bottom, and you don't want any lumps in your Alfredo. You want it to be absolutely delicious. All right, so that cheese, believe it or not, is already melted. All right, so then I'm going to start to take the tortellini out of the water because it is done. And when it's finished, you want it to be al dente, which means the teeth. Because when you bite into it, you don't want it to be mushy. You want it to be a little bit strong, a little bit strong still together. So I'm just taking this spider and I'm putting my tortellini right directly into the sauté pan. Now, if you don't have a spider, for years I did not, until I started taking cooking classes. And then I eventually went and got all of these really cool gadgets and kitchen tools. Now I have them all and I love them. But if you don't have that, you use this. You would use pot holders, because you have to remember, in a kitchen, everything is hot. So you would have to use 2 pot holders, bring it to your sink, and strain it in a strainer. Or if you got a spider like this, it's very good for these kind of dishes. So I'm just getting the last of the tortellini out here. See how easy that was with a spider? And I think that's about it. Just a couple little guys still swimming, and we're done. So now I have to stir these guys into their new pot here. Now remember, we still had another cup of Parmesan cheese left. So now we want to add that in there because we wanted it to stick to the pasta now. If we put it all in before, it would be all melted. But now, see, this is perfectly measured to 2 cups. So we're going to put this in there. And we're going to keep stirring. And you can already see this. It looks velvety and soft. It smells really good. It's nice and creamy. And like I said, if you don't have tortellini, you can use any dish that you want to. So I think we're about done here. We can turn off our pasta pot. Always turn off our burners. We're going to turn this one off because it's done. And you can see some of the cheese in it right there. And this is ready to go. This is your tortellini Alfredo. And I'm going to put a tiny bit in a bowl for myself. And I'm actually going to taste it. I might just have this for lunch today because it's so good. See, we've turned all the flames off in here, and the water has stopped boiling now. And I am ready to start eating my pasta. It's probably enough. You may want to top it off a little bit here with a little more Parmesan cheese. I see that everybody's watching and I'm so excited. And I am ready to start my lunch. Here's my tortellini. I can taste the lemon because it gives it a little bit of brightness. And the cheese is absolutely delicious in here, and it's so creamy. And this is an easy dish that you guys can make. You can ask your mom or dad, can we have Alfredo tonight? And as long as you have those 4 or 5 simple ingredients, you can whip it up. Look how fast it took me to make this. I think I might just eat this whole bowl. But I won't eat it unless I have my glass of wine with me. A good cook, when you're older, always has a glass of wine. So I thank you for coming into my kitchen today, and I thank you for letting me know that you wanted me to do this. If you liked it, I can do another one for you. If you want to cook something else, just let me know. I'll be happy to do any recipe that you guys would like. So I hope you stay well, and I hope you come to eat at Amici soon. Ciao.